Hello, I'm Mike Raymond. Welcome to the highlights of the 1990 Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. This series produced by Chevron Publishing in association with the Confederation of Australian Motorsport. Well, 8 rounds of the title have been scheduled this year, commencing at Sydney's Amaroo Park Raceway. There's the traditional second leg at Symonds Plains in Tasmania, then off to a new venue, Victoria's Phillip Island. From there it's over to Winton in northeastern Victoria, up to Lakeside in Queensland, a return to the rustic setting at Malala in South Australia, then across the Nullarbor to Wanneroo in the west, and on to Sydney's Oran Park Raceway for the grand final. Well, this year, of course, there are a couple of alterations to the touring car specifications. The Sierra's tipped the scales just over 80 kilograms heavier than last season. Nissan has promised its new four-wheel drive GTR twin-turbo Express will be ready by mid-season, and the General is back with British ace Wyn Percy at the helm of the factory Holden. Well, exciting ingredients indeed for a champagne season. Let's go to Amaroo in the opening round where Alan Jones has pole over John Bowe, Tony Longhurst, Richards, Brock and Greg Hansford.
Wait for the lights to turn to green. John Bowe and Jones on the front row. Edging across the line, Bowe gets away smartly. Jones lights up the tyre there, side by side, heading up the hill. And a mighty start from Richards up the outside of the pair of them, catching the two Sierra drivers unaware. And Richards may well take the lead as they go over Bitchapave. And here he is trying to fight back to get the inside. Fantastic start from Jimmy Richards. Jones is now forced out wide and gets the sideways treatment from Johnny Bowe. He moves into second spot. Tony Longhurst makes his way to fourth place. And boy, have we got a race going here today at Amaroo Park. Gentleman Jim and Nissan teaming together with a beautiful start, but Bowe coming down wants to race with him. Alan Jones runs in third spot. Longhurst back one spot behind them, and as they head down to the lake for the first time, if Richards leaves an opening here on the inside, watch for Johnny Bowe. Won this race last year, went on to win Bathurst and runner-up in the touring car title. It is bumper to bumper racing over 50 laps for round one of the Shell Ultra Series, and it'll be Jimmy Richards who leads them across the line for the first time.
Unbelievable start for Jim Richards. Wind your memories back 12 months and recall the battle between John Bowe and Jim Richards. Richards having spent almost 60 minutes behind the guy in car number 18. He said last night he didn't want to have to do that today, but one would not have expected to make such a blinder start and solve the problem immediately.
Well, of course, we saw a sensational start thanks to Nissan Sport. Our race cam coverage, this is what the start of the race looked like. Jones on the inside, Bowe the outside, side by side. Richards grabs another one, slips straight around the outside of them in the Nissan Skyline, heads up Bitchapave Hill, over the top, heading down to the right-hander. Also caught the windscreen wipers on the way into the loop, and that's the way Jimmy Richards took the lead. Visor went up and he was on his way. Here's our long shot as they come up the hill. Look for them now. There's John Bowe coming through behind our race leader. Next one is Tony Longhurst. Then Mark Scaife in the second of the Nissans. Jones has dropped back a spot, and Brock now starting to haul in Alan Jones. That's the order as they head up Bitchapave, and I think that's where the race for the minors is certainly developing at this stage.
2 seconds now, Richards to Bowe.
And if you want a new view of the racing, we're going to do that with thanks, of course, to Nissan Motorsport with their headlight cam. And don't tell me that doesn't give you a dramatic look at the racetrack here at Amaroo Park as our race leader, Jimmy Richards, coming in with a group of the slower cars here, some of the BMWs, Peter Duhlmann in there as well. They leave the inside line open for him. He tucks in as they make their way back onto the start-finishing straight. And it looks like through the noise flag that we may be getting, or Johnny Bowe may be getting a...
He gets the noise flag again.
Well, it looks like some reps from the State Pollution Control Commission. There's the flag to tell the drivers you're making too much noise, do something about it. So all you can do, there's Larry Perkins again, gets the flag. Car number 35, Glenn Seaton, joins us on race cam. Glenn, it hasn't been your weekend so far.
Well, I've taken a bit of the wrong tyre choice today, but that's the way it goes, and we're just going to try and keep on the tails of these fellas in front, and hopefully their tyres will go up.
You seem to be making any ground there on Greg Hansford?
Well, we're making a little bit, but then we get caught up in the traffic and we'll lose a bit of ground, but we'll soon catch him, just give it time.
You had problems on Friday, back one of them into the wall. How much does that put you behind?
Well, the second car was as good as the first car anyway. The car's going well. It's just we've got a few problems at the moment.
All right, we'll let you get back to it. A philosophical view from Glenn Seaton.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, mate. Here is the 16 car in the pit area. They're looking pretty good, as I understand, in practice on Friday, Neil.
Friday the car performed very well. Wynne was very happy with the balance, and it would seem as though the car was capable of doing consistent laps, but I wonder what tyre choice they went for prior to the start of the race, because whatever it was, it's wrong.
Well, here's a good scrap developing. Peter Brock, Andrew Madecki, and the man coming from position number 13, Queensland's favourite son, Dick Johnson. Brock there with a gigantic lock-up.
Was it Brock or Trevor Ashby in the...
I thought it was Brock. He locked him up a couple of laps back, and here's Johnson getting very businesslike about a run, perhaps down the inside. Is there a gap there? There's enough there for Dick to put the nose in. That really
and
lands...
Greg Hansford, he's gone through as well.
That really left Andrew Madecki out to dry there just for a moment or two. So Greg Hansford closes up well and truly behind Dick Johnson. And Johnson in his path now towards the race lead, or at least one of the top 3 spots.
Fascinating scrap between these two drivers.
This is great stuff.
Dunlop tyres versus Bridgestone tyres, and you know, Peter and Dick set their cars up differently as Dick dives to the inside now and sneaks through.
That was a good pass. Jim Richards, Nissan Skyline, running in second spot, and closing on him now is John Bowe.
No need to tell you about the time difference. You can see it with your own eyes. Mark Scaife to the pits.
Problems for Mark Scaife, but the dice is really back up front, where Jimmy Richards, who bolted away to a pretty big lead, now has a closing John Bowe on his tail.
Tasmania Sportsman of the Year, John Bowe, beating the likes of...
And Bowe has clamped the tail onto the guardrail.
Now, has he done any damage to the left rear? That's the brake that Richo needed.
We'll take a look at that for you. Watch Jimmy Richards getting out of this turn, coming onto the straight. And John, bang, brings the front round, but he got it straight very, very quickly. Well, here's Glenn Seaton, who told us earlier that he'd made the wrong choice on tyres. So he's in, that really takes care of any thoughts of finishing in the top 10 here today in the opening round.
He was in 9th position.
Race leader still Jimmy Richards, and the Nissan Skyline. John Bowe runs second in car number 18. And then Tony Longhurst in car number 25, the Benson and Hedges here. And I think an outstanding performance from Johnson this afternoon.
Very much so. You know, starting from that far back on the grid, position 13, you know, it's pretty hard work. And the guys just kept on plodding and just showed that you've got to hang in there. And they've obviously come up with the right settings and tyre compounds on the car to allow him just to nip away at the opposition. He's passed Alan Jones, and of course his teammate John Bowe is doing a terrific job in second, although John's now just fading a little from the back of Jim Richards.
A couple of minutes to go for Jimmy Richards. There's Alan Jones running 5th in car number 20 and dropping back through the pack.
So the car looks to be going pretty slowly. I wonder whether he's got a problem and he just has to get it home.
I think he's been gathered in already by Greg Hansford and by Andrew Madecki, so that's bad luck indeed for Jonesy. AJ will soldier on to the finish. In the meantime, though, car number 2 continues to lead it with time running out. The short straight now to the next right-hander, and you're going to ride home with the winner of the opening round of the Shell Ultra Touring Car Series. It's almost checkered flag time as Jimmy Richards comes up, and Richards beats the Sierras on day number 1 of the 1990 series at Amaroo Park Raceway. And I think a delighted Fred Gibson, the Nissan Motorsport team manager, talking to his driver as we take our Toyota race score to confirm that Jim Richards has won round number 1 here today at Amaroo Park Raceway. John Bowe in the Shell Ultra High Racing Sierra takes second. His team boss Dick Johnson picks up 3rd place. 4th goes to Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges Sierra, and rounding out the 5-0-5 master Peter Brock.
Well, what a great start to the series by Nissan's Jim Richards, with a strong top 3 performances by the Shell team duo of Johnny Bowe and Dick Johnson. Well, time now to hop over Bass Strait and join the boys at Symmons Plains, where Peter Brock has locked up pole, clear of Longhurst, Johnson, Seaton, Jones and Bowe. And while the Nissan dominated on the tight and twisting Amaroo layout, it will do it a little tougher at the Plains, where sheer horsepower means absolutely everything.
Racing, Brock off to a good one this time. Longhurst buried it on the starting line, and Johnson grabs a gear. And Johnson up now on the inside is really going to make life interesting for Tony Longhurst when they head down to the first corner. Brilliant start by John Bowe. And just look at Alan Jones muscling his way into the action. Also a good start there from Jimmy Richards. Brock into the hairpin, gets out of there with Johnson in second place, and right behind him is Tony Longhurst. They're all through turn number 1, the hairpin, without a problem.
Alan Jones, again for the second race running, has lit that car up and absolutely smoked it. He sat there going nowhere as we watch this scrap between Longhurst and Dick Johnson. Peter Brock the leader.
And problems back in the pack. I think it could be Alan Jones. In fact, got smoke pouring out the back of the second of the Benson and Hedges Sierra, and he is slowing down appreciably. This moment, though, it's Peter Brock who'll lead them round for the completion of the first lap, and doing it comfortably as he comes up over the hump. Back towards the pits with Longhurst showing Dick Johnson. He's got enough stick to be able to pass him in the opening lap, so they're down 1 lap, with Brock leading it.
Well, this is an aggressive start from Tony Longhurst as we look at his teammate Alan Jones. Remember, I said off the line, the car just sat there absolutely smoking the back tyres. Look at the Jones car, smoke everywhere. Glenn Seaton off to the right. Jim, those super quick changes, he had to lift off a little bit because Glenn came across and took some territory, and that's Andrew Madecki on the outside. Then they go down to this super tight left-hander. As we come back now with Peter Brock still leading from Tony Longhurst. In third place, Dick Johnson. In fourth place, John Bowe. I understand that Jim's able to hear us at the moment. How's it going out there, Jim?
Good, Neil, so far.
Did you get off to a good start? I saw Seaton take some ground off you.
Yes, a few of them did, but I'm just slowly working away at them, not trying too hard too early. Long way to go yet.
You said last night, Jim, that you thought the car was going to be very consistent. Is it showing up that way?
Yes, it is. You know, we're only a few laps into the race, but so far we're managing to hold on to the 3 Sierras in front of us. We'll have to see how things pan out.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think we're watching a pretty good bloke at the wheel here at the moment.
Thanks, buddy.
Talk to you later.
See ya.
And as we watch Dick Johnson here, you'll note that there's a yellow car missing from this frame. And Tony Longhurst, for some strange reason, has gone to the pits. Now you'll see Dick Johnson go through on the inside in the far corner over at Coca-Cola. And just a moment after this, suddenly Longhurst just looks to the left. The car slows up desperately. John Bowe goes by and he's gone to the pits.
Colin Bond driving for Caltex in the Caltex Sierra. Bond is running 7th on the road at the moment. He made a good start. Got away quickly from Jim Richards. He's hanging in there. John Bowe, 3rd in the race. 4th is the man right behind him in the Peter Jackson Sierra, and that, of course, is Glenn Seaton. They're probably the closest 2 cars since the race started. They've been having their own individual scrap. Seaton gets close for a spell, puts a bit of pressure on John. Then a lap car will interfere, and then the gap will open up. Getting a little closer this time as they make their way up towards the hairpin. I think John would love to win one here, but it's not going to be today. We take our race cam in the Glenn Seaton Sierra, sponsored by ICI Dulux Auto Colour, and then you can see just how he gets away from him in that spot. So Dick Johnson turning in another splendid drive here today at Symonds Plains. The race is far from over. John Bowe seems to be just gaining all the time, moving towards both Johnson and Brock, and Glenn Seaton is just on his bumper.
Oh dear, he's got him. Brock locked up a brake, or something let go on the car, I'm not sure what, but he got very out of shape in that hairpin, and he caught one midships then from Dick.
Dick's through with all the fooling. It's time to get down to some serious racing for the lead now. So, dramatic turn.
I'm a bit confused by all that. I can't quite figure out what happened there. I have to go away and have another look at all that. But
we can't afford the time.
No, that's all happening with Brock sort of busy signalling to the guy in the Corolla that he's got a little bit of a problem on his hands at the moment. I think it's a number 17 Sierra.
Crowd has really come to life here at Symonds Plains. Very, very popular as Dick Johnson.
Notice that the other 2 cars are still getting a little bit closer.
Here we go again.
I wonder if Peter's just getting on the wrong edge with tyres now. Thing's still skating around a bit there, isn't it?
Yep. All the time, you'll notice that John Bowe's getting a little closer.
I think Brock's car might have a bit more, well, it's had so far a little more stick in a straight line than Johnson's car, and Brock has now turned into a bit of defensive driving.
He's got a couple of cars to negotiate here, and that'll be hard work.
And Dick's going to keep him honest.
Gee, it's a great scrap, isn't it? Good pickies from Dunlop Race Cam.
And now Johnson down the inside.
There's the gap.
Bang! Out of the way. They are playing for keeps at Simmons Plains, and Brock's got the hand out of the window. I'd suggest to Peter he might like to get it back inside the window, because
he was signalling to Gerald Kay.
I know
he's get out of my way. It was probably so he can't afford to be held up and then have to use a great heap of power out the other side of the corner. He's got to keep some sort of speed up through the corner, because if he calls on too much from his right foot, he's going to break out into masses of wheel spin. So if he gets balked by a car and then has to really push hard, then that only works against him. In fact, it's working against him already, because Dick Johnson's well positioned for a lead change here as they go to the left-hander at the end of the back straight, and I think he's pulled it off.
Fantastic effort from Johnson here today at Simmons Plains. Zipping down on the inside of Peter Brock. He's taken the lead away. Crowd has really come to life. It's all getting pretty tight here now as Larry Perkins opens the door up here for Bow to go through. We take Dulux Autocolour Race Cam, and Glenn will dive straight down on the inside, and he's right on Bow. Broke loose with some horsepower then as he came off the turn.
You can hear the Commodore to his right-hand side. 3 cars all scrapping here. Larry's 1 lap down.
And this is fourth, looking for third at the end of the back straight, down to the left-hander at Coca-Cola.
Oops, John locks up the front left. And you can see what that does. Look how it just eats into time. In fact, Glenn got right so close on the back, he had to back off again.
Out of Coca-Cola turn. Now down towards Little Hump. Over there. Down to the pit turn. Dunlop Bridge. And we expect to see the checkered flag not too long as Dick Johnson sweeps across the line to take the checkered flag. Round 2 at Simmons Plains to the Queenslander Johnson. Second to Peter Brock in car number 5. Finishing back in third, Tassie's Johnny Bow. Good finish from John Bow today. Let's recap them for you on our Toyota race score service. The winner of round 2 from Simmons Plains, Queensland's Dick Johnson. Second goes to Melbourne's Peter Brock. Third to Devonport's John Bow. Fourth to Glenn Seaton. Fifth to Andrew Madecki in car number 6. Well, I guess you could say a touch of bad luck for Brocky, but a brilliant drive just the same from Dick Johnson. Well, next stop is the wide open spaces of Phillip Island, usually a haven for the two-wheel heroes like Gardner, Doohan and Rainey, but a new experience for the turbo tourers. Once again, the B&H team has set the qualifying pace with Tony Longhurst on pole. He's followed by Glenn Seaton, the Shell boys, Johnson, Bow and AJ and Richards making the top 6. Who's it going to be, Longhurst or Seaton? Away they go. Seaton blasts them off the line and Bow goes with him on the outside. Johnson slips into third as they sweep down for the run now. Alan Jones getting away to a great start on the outside, but it's Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson Sierra making a brilliant start from John Bow. Next is Dick Johnson, and rounding them up on the outside was in fact Alan Jones as they go down to the southern loop. 1 or 2 cars not getting off the line. I think one of them may have been the Mustang, but let's have a look at here as Jones up on the inside here, putting some pressure. There's a spin there back in the pack.
Oh, it's Brock and cars spearing every which way.
So Brock, his race is run. He spins the car around, tries to head back to the pit area, and a cloud of dust down there. Lukey Heights and Glenn Seaton promising to do this for so long for the Peter Jackson team. He's doing it comfortably now, and there's Ray Lintott. Bad luck for Ray. First up start in the Valvoline Sierra. A great start there from Win Percy up into about 4th spot or 5th spot. Sensational start. Maybe the bingle that we saw back in the pack involving Brock may have taken out some middle markers, and that's where Percy's jumped 1 or 2.
Well, Mark Duquet was the other Commodore that we saw involved with Brock in the late part of the incident, and there's the Steve Reed Commodore with the front left severely damaged.
Very, very quick pit stop for Brock. Boy, that was a quickie. I thought he took some of the air hoses with him, but he's off and running, rejoins the race. Seaton has done a lot of testing here at Phillip Island. Just look at Longhurst, the way he just zeroes up on the inside and says, Dick, see ya. That is the move so far of the race, and you saw it on our race cam. Now the cat amongst the pigeons, Longhurst straight down on the inside. You get the feeling that maybe something could happen. No, he's just playing the role of the enforcer.
Nick Johnson's going to get a bonus out of this as well. Glenn Seaton arguing about third at the moment with John Bower, who has a look on the inside and makes a very effective move, but he's losing a bit of fuel from the back of that car by the look of it. And then Win Percy's still hanging in there behind Alan Jones. Then we've got Madecki in the second of the mobile cars, although he's the lead car at the moment with Brock in 30th position. Jim Richards behind him. Larry Perkins doing a great job, and he's in the scrap with Colin Bond and Greg Hansford.
Oh, it was Jim. What a move that was.
Oh, and look at Larry down the inside of Andrew. A nice bit of driving. That car's been working very well this weekend. And how good is it to see a Nissan, a Holden and a Ford all having a battle? It's good. It's refreshing.
It is sensational. And look at Greg Hansford here in the Alan Moffat ANZ Banking Sierra, coming up on the inside here of Colin Bond, working away at Madecki. And Alan Moffat, of course, has brought over the Swiss tuning expert Rudy Eggenberger for this meeting. Oh, look at Bondy pulling out of the draft there, trying to get down the outside of Greg Hansford.
Look at Larry.
And Larry Perkins going on with it. So
Seaton's in the pits. There's Glenn Seaton. And I know how he feels.
Yes, you've had a day of that. Johnson still sits on the tail of the number 25 B&H Sierra. Then John Bower. So the Johnson car's running second and third at this stage. I'll tell you what, the performance of both Win Percy and Larry Perkins has brought this rather large crowd to life here today at Phillip Island. Oh,
Alan
there's
Jones
Jonesy.
and John Bower.
John Bower. Keeping in mind they had a big heave too at Simmons Plains, where Alan Jones lit up the tyres and got going as Perkins slips by, and so does Jim Richards. So that was a costly exercise.
Johnson
getting closer all the time here. There it is with the Peter Jackson car getting off. And that was the run down to the first corner. And Dick Johnson takes Tony Longhurst to capture the lead in round number 3 today at Phillip Island.
Oh, now I know why they're going to bring Peter Brock into the pits. He's got one of our camera cables on the back. Now, he always wanted to be a TV star.
So Longhurst to the pits. That really does throw all the cards up whether Johnson has gone with the right compound to go the full race distance. And the same with John Bower.
So I think that moves, what, Bower to second, Alan Jones to third, Jimmy Richards in fourth. Well, we said there was going to be some pit action. There certainly is.
Car number 2, Jimmy Richards, and car number 20, Alan Jones. Side by side, so Richards said he would be more competitive the longer this race went. He's not too far off the beam. The championship hopes. Car number 14, Murray Carter, has decided to bail. A little onboard fire, have we, or electrical fire going in there? And he brings in the President Ford. Things wouldn't be too comfortable in the cockpit there because Murray's got the door open. Oops.
He was in 8th.
In fact, didn't make the pits. And we have, in fact, I believe the fire under the hood going there.
Sure have. I want to be getting some, oh hell, get some extinguishers on that in a real hurry, or get away from it in a big hurry.
Murray's guiding everything. He said, give it a squirt there. Teammate John Bower will close it up just a little before checker flag time. They come up and put a lap on the tail enders. Heading up to Lukey Heights. And now the sprint down to the left-hander after the dipper to Nissan Corner. Well, it's been quite a day for the Johnson Shell team as they exit and head down to the left-hander now.
You have to speak volumes for John Bower here too. Difficult thing to harness your enthusiasm and just sit in there and do this. And also remember, he recovered from the shunt with Alan Jones. Now Andrew Madecki's got some problems there.
Coming out of the last turn and looking straight at the checkered flag. It's out, and Dick Johnson, a 1-2 for the Shell team at Phillip Island this afternoon in the Shell Ultra Sierras. Car number 17, Johnson the winner. John Bower, his teammate from Devonport in Tasmania, takes second in the 18 car. And of course, Jimmy Richards will pick up third in the Nissan Skyline, car number 2. A sensational finish for Johnson, put it all together so well here today. Let's check them out on our Toyota race score. Johnson, the race winner in the Shell Ultra High Sierra. Second to John Bowe of Tasmania. Third goes to Jimmy Richards in the Nissan Skyline. Fourth place, a good finish to Colin Bond in the Caltech Sierra. And rounding out the 5, a tradesman's job from Greg Hansford in the ANZ Sierra. 2 in a row to Dick Johnson and a great 1-2 finish for the Shell Sierras, and a fighting third to Jimmy Richards too in the Nissan. Round 4 of the championship has taken the drivers to the tight confines of Winton Raceway near Benalla in Victoria. It's a tricky little layout, and true to the script, Richards has grabbed pole from Jones, Longhurst, young Mark Scaife in the second Nissan, Seaton and Holden's Win Percy. Cars in position now for the start of round number 4. The Shell Ultra Touring Car Championship from Winton. Pole sitter Jim Richards, AJ on the outside of the front row. Wait for the first turn. They're off. Jones actually gets the best of it, but Richards catches the next one, gets through smartly on the lead, and then Mark Scaife making a brilliant start out of the second row. Just look at them fighting for racing room as they go into the first turn, but Alan Jones dropping into second spot and Richards leading it. A wall of cars here at Winton Motor Raceway as they work their way up to the sweeper.
Look at that's Kevin Waldock out in the grass there, and Dick Johnson got all out of shape, and look at this scrap on at the head of the field. Jim Richards, a tremendous start. One of the drivers, I think, in either one of the Nissans had a million revs when he left the line, but he still made a great start.
I think that may have been Scaife. He's up to third. Just look at Win Percy. He has made a blinder up to fourth already as they head up to the right-hander at Castrol with Jimmy Richards, the race leader.
It's a monstrous field of touring cars contesting this round at Winton. It's Jim Richards, Alan Jones in second place. Third place is Mark Scaife. In fourth place, Win Percy making an attack on the inside. And behind him, Tony Longhurst.
Okay, coming through the S's, just look at the scrap. Alan Jones all over Jimmy Richards, gets the inside run as they come off. Richards up on the ripple strip and Jones down on the inside. Moment of truth now for Alan Jones. He takes over the lead. Sweeps into the lead in the Benson and Hedges Sierra with Richards now running in second spot. And Mark Scaife runs in third in the Nissan number 3 car. Right behind him, Win Percy in the number 16 Holden Special Vehicles entry.
When you listen to the engine note in this car and listen to how carefully Jim bleeds the power on, he's forceful yet careful and has to be so careful. Look at Jones being pushed a little wide there. Now he scrambles back and covers his ground. What the part number on the diff there?
That's how close it is as Jimmy Richards gets into stalking mode. Takes Jones on the inside as they make their way to Penrite Turn. And now the Nissan leads round 4 of the Touring Car Nationals from Winton. Superb display there from Jimmy Richards. Is waiting for the right opportunity. He's through and now leads the event. As Jimmy Richards goes through, has opened a break of about 10 car lengths to Alan Jones in the number 20 car. And here comes Scaife. Boeing straight down on the inside, gets Jones out of shape. That's just to soften him up, perhaps. Well, he's softened him up all right. He's come through. Expect a bit of a...
I reckon that that Scaife is a bit pumped up after the last race. Now Jones comes back and wants to argue now. Has Mark got a problem as a result of that? Well, maybe he's got some damage on the front left.
And here comes Longhurst down the inside on the back straight. He's giving him the Rover Mowers treatment, but I think you'll find that Longhurst will get through.
That's when Wynne was praying the Commodore was a mere 12 feet wider.
That really was a costly error.
We're 17, coming up to 18 minutes in now.
Well, that's the situation in the pits. Mark Scaife goes back out.
The Munro shock absorbers, Mercedes-Benz of Phil Ward being hotly pursued by Jim Richards. And Ward is involved in a scrap of his own with one of the BMW M3s, the ex-Brock cars, which were the ex-Gardner cars.
Isn't that a marvellous...
He's a bit busy to see Richo, I think.
Isn't that fantastic stuff from our Nissan track cab?
You see that friendly wave from Wardy as he saluted his fellow competitor there. That's Larry Perkins giving John Bowe something to think about at the moment. They're old competitors from the open wheeler racing days. And we wouldn't get more fierce drivers, I don't think, than John Bowe or Larry Perkins.
JB isn't giving him too much ground. Perkins has been right on him right from the start of the race.
Well, Mark Scaife ready to step out of the car. So his race is over for the afternoon.
There's the Benson and Hedges cars having a battle for second and third. And
Tony's making a lunge here, and I think he might just squeeze through.
Alan made that very easy.
Yeah. Tony
Depends who's
waved.
paying the bills, I guess, doesn't it?
It's just a little wave to say thanks. As he now gets on with the pursuit of race leader Jimmy Richards.
Win Percy's Holden Commodore, which was running in 4th position, just mysteriously stopped in the middle of the road, and engine builder Rob Benson went sprinting down to it in the grass, opened the passenger's door, had a look, obviously did something. They got it mobile once again, and now it's pulled up at the top of the circuit. So that's put paid to the Holden Racing Team effort this weekend, as we look at Dick Johnson, who has moved up a slot as a result. So that puts Glenn Seaton in 4th, Dick Johnson in 5th, John Bowe in 6th. And meanwhile, Jim Richards is just annihilating the pack.
Let's go to our Dunlop race cam, and hard at work today, Dickie Johnson.
Hard at work's not the meaning of the word, mate, I can tell you.
Well, what is the definition of Winton?
Come again?
What is the definition of Winton?
Winton. It's like running a marathon round your clothesline.
Well, Murray Carter, if you recall, at Phillip Island.
I think it's burning a little harder than it was at Phillip Island. The flames are still belching out of the other side, which you can't see from there, but the fire crew was there very quickly.
Oh, Peter Brock, dearie me, Ray Lintott, that just in front of him in the Valvoline car got very much sideways. So through natural attrition, a few other problems, Peter Brock now moves to 8th. That's quite a performance. I'll show you the gap between Jimmy Richards and Tony Longhurst shortly as he works his way up to the right-hander at Castrol. And comes down the back straight.
I reckon he's bagged this one. He's comfortably in front of these 2 B&H cars.
Look for the first yellow car.
I've got the stopwatch on this gap.
Richards goes through.
6.6 seconds from Jim to Tony.
There's our second place, Tony Longhurst, going through. Here comes third placed Alan Jones.
48.5 minutes down as they come across the line.
Race order still Richards over Tony Longhurst, Alan Jones, Glenn Seaton, then Dick Johnson, John Bowe. We're following at the moment Larry Perkins, then Colin Bond. Peter Brock is the next one after that. And then Mark Gibbs in car number 21. Well done on Mark Gibbs's part. Been a good drive in the GIO Commodore.
This is the battle for 6th we're looking at. We're now 49 minutes and 23 seconds in, so about 30 seconds to go. We'll look for Jim Richards.
Whoa, Perkins has gone the wrong way.
He's gone down the end, yeah.
But has he? Because Bondi's out in the dirt as well. That's the bit we can't see. Oh. Well, everything stayed the same, except the gaps are bigger.
The gap just opened up. That has just taken all the pressure off.
JB be having a breather right now.
49 minutes and 48 seconds, and
not too far off the finish of this race with Jimmy Richards.
Is coming down the back straight now for the last time.
Looking for the checkered flag. Last corner comes up, and he's done it. He's broken the Ford Sierra stranglehold. Richards takes it at Winton. Jimmy Richards across the line in car number 2. A win today for Nissan. That's 2 years in a row. Okay, let's recap them for you now on our Shell race score. The winner of round 4 from Winton this afternoon, Nissan's Jimmy Richards. Second place goes to Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges Sierra. Third to his teammate Alan Jones. Fourth spot to Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra. And rounding out the top 5, Queensland's Dick Johnson. What a race. 4 rounds down and 2 wins to Richards and 2 to Johnson. Here's how the Shell Series points table looks at the halfway mark. Johnson ahead on 60 points, 4 clear of Gentleman Jim, and then 8 to John Bowe in the second of the Shell Sierras. Round 5 at Lakeside is next on our highlights package, and would you believe it, 3 Queenslanders at the head of the qualifying queue. Longhurst, Johnson and Jones. But if you're a punter at heart, take a little advice. Go with the long shot. Ready for start. Turn-away crowd here at Lakeside Raceway today. Streaming into the place since 9 this morning. Hang on, Australia, we're about to go racing. Off the line, Johnson away quickly, Bowers away even faster on the inside. The 2 B&H Sierras have been shuffled out by the Shell Sierras as they head down to the carousel, the right-hander for the first time. And you'll find it'll be Dick Johnson in the lead from teammate Johnny Bowe. Now it's a toss-up whether Longhurst actually got the better of Alan Jones as they come out of the carousel. And a good start also there by Greg Hansford. Jimmy Richards out on the dirt and Mark Scaife up 2 spots ahead of him as they come beneath the Dunlop Bridge, and we're working lap 1 of round 5 here from Lakeside.
Tremendous start from Johnson. He got the car off the line just beautifully and already starting to increase that slight advantage on this first lap. The critical element, as we mentioned a few moments ago, in this race is going to be the treatment of tyres and how they withstand the temperatures and the extra abrasiveness in this circuit as Kevin Waldock goes off, car 55 with severe damage to the front right-hand corner. Longhurst, car 25, the pace setter in most of the practice and qualifying sessions, and is right behind John Bowe at the moment. Then Alan Jones, Greg Hansford, Mark Scaife and Larry Perkins. Tony takes to the grass to have a look on the inside of Bowe.
Joining us in commentary today, one of Australia's top touring car drivers, Alan Grice. Welcome aboard, Alan.
Thank you, Mike. I see Win Percy's made a very good start there through. He's picked up about 4 positions.
At the moment, we've got Tony Longhurst working away at John Bowe. Tony, who had set the pace here, we take a special Dulux Auto Colour race cam from the top of Glenn Seaton's car. Just look at the rubber left on the racetrack.
Cito got swamped a little bit by Mark Gibbs, then Win Percy, pow, straight through the middle, and that was Peter Brock that he squeezed.
That wasn't the best of starts from Glenn Seaton, but that'll give you an indication of just how much cut and thrust there is in the first turn.
Yes, indeed. He lost about 5 places there.
There's Johnson, though, down to the left-hander at Hungary Corner. Now, Johnson will go through. There's the gap that he has over John Bowe, who runs in second. There's the gap back to third. That is Alan Jones, then Greg Hansford, then Tony Longhurst, and then Larry Perkins coming on like gangbusters. There you have Colin Bond. He's followed then by Mark Scaife. The next one behind Scaife is Richards. There's the first one. The Benson and Hedges team in for a quick stop.
Right on cue, really, Alan.
Yes, yeah.
Bond, of course, drove superbly at Winton, came off the back of the pack, and he's driven a well-judged race so far, starting out of position number 9.
I have some viewers that would be interested in the fortunes of Drew Price, who was to have driven the second Peter Jackson Ford Sierra this weekend, but it broke an axle yesterday. And about this spot here, as Colin Bond has a look on the inside to try and force a little bit of real estate, and I think he's now in a position to be able to squirt the Commodore to death down here.
Yes, you often have to come within a thou or two of Larry's rear vision mirrors before he'll give you the call.
Andrew Madecki in the car number 6 Mobile Sierra in for fresh rubber. And I think Jones has got a major problem because it went well and truly off the boil on the approach to the carousel, and Bondi is closed up. There's something for Frank Gardner.
Yes, there's not enough water.
No, there's not enough water in that.
Dick Johnson, dashboard cam, Shell Sierra, thanks to Dunlop, and you'll see just how busy race leader is around this track. It's a frantic little circuit and pretty quick. He has a glance at his pit board, then a glance in the mirror, and he'd be pretty relaxed and relieved to see that there's just another red car behind at the moment. The top 12, as I see it at the moment, Dick Johnson leading from John Bowe, still with a gap of about 4 seconds, then back to Alan Jones on our lap chart, but of course he's vanished. Moving up into 3rd place, Greg Hansford. 4th place is Colin Bond. 5th is Mark Scaife. 6th, Jim Richards. 7th, Peter Brock. 8th, Glenn Seaton. 9th is now Win Percy. 10th is car number 6, Andrew Madecki, having made a stop, and Tony Longhurst is behind him at 12.
As Jonesy comes in, I don't think they'll have to worry about the tyres, and I think that's already been said. The problem is a little more severe than fresh rubber, and let's go again. And let me tell you, there's plenty of activity in the pit area. Just in at the moment is Greg Hansford and the Alan Moffat ANZ Sierra. And here's the pride of the Caltech CXT fleet, Colin Bond of Sydney, car number 8. As I mentioned earlier, sensational drive at Winton from the back of the pack. And here today, just soldiering on, there's Glenn Seaton, car number 30, the Peter Jackson Sierra. He's been in, and you saw Dick Johnson's crew preparing for the arrival of Dick Johnson. So it really is up to Colin Bond whether the Toyo tyres on Colin Bond's car go the distance. That could be the major boil over the Touring Car Series. Here's their race leader, Dick Johnson. This is really like a F1 Grand Prix here today. They're all in for quick stops. Dunlops for Johnson. And that will give Colin Bond the race lead in car number 8. The Caltex CXT Sierra.
Good stop.
Good stop, yeah.
Second stop for Tony Longhurst.
Colin Bond continues to lead round 5 here at Lakeside today. The man who was making a big charge, Dick Johnson, we believe, a bit of a slide off the circuit only a lap ago and has dropped down a couple of spots. So that really does take the pressure off race leader Colin Bond and Peter Brock.
And Wynn is still doing mid-56s, which is around about the same time that Colin Bond is now. Colin's just slipped back that little bit, but bearing in mind these are the only 2 cars that haven't stopped.
And he's about 12 seconds behind Peter Brock. And the puffing and huffing from this car continues. Peter's still second.
Blowing plenty of fumes here today.
Yes, indeed. Every time he backs off, it's...
Look at the action in the pits. Larry Perkins, the number 11 Perkins Engineering car, in for fresh rubber. And out quickly. We take Nissan Motorsport race cam with Jimmy Richards. Richards up to 5th now, so that's going to make it very interesting at the top of the championship. Dick Johnson leading the series. 60 points to Jim Richards' 56 for the split. And as Neil said just a while ago, you just got to keep hanging in there. Last lap board coming out for Colin Bond. I'll have a patent on his tyres after this race. Everyone will be on for the next one at Lakeside.
Yes, indeed.
He's the only bloke that may well do the Tooheys 1000 without a pit stop. But isn't it great to see one of the regulars, one of the old timers, as they say, bloke is really nature's gentleman.
Yes, and it just goes to show you've got to keep banging in there, haven't you? You've got to keep hanging away at it.
Peter Brock still runs in 2nd. Wynn Percy is 3rd, so a major upset in round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals today. Bondi comes through Hungary corner, headed to the top of Motorcraft, just ahead of him Greg Hansford, who did so well so early in this race in the ANZ Banking Sierra. He's getting stronger at every outing, but the last corner is coming up now as the Caltex CXT Sierra comes onto the start finishing straight. They all expected a Queensland victory. It hasn't happened. The old-timer Colin Bond and the Caltex Sierra taste victory. 2nd spot is going to go to Brocky in the Mobile Sierra, car number 05. And Wynn Percy in car number 16, the Holden Special Vehicles Commodore, will take 3rd. What a sensational race here today. There's the man who has done it. Let's check them out on our race score. Shell Ultra race score. Colin Bond is your race winner from Lakeside. Peter Brock finishes in 2nd. Wynn Percy is 3rd. John Bowe comes up to 4th. And Jimmy Richards finishes 5th in the Nissan Skyline. What a fascinating race, and congratulations to Colin Bond and the Caltex team. A popular 2nd for Peter Brock, and some heart for Holden fans with Wynn Percy taking 3rd. Time now to beat the heat and head for the rural surrounds of Mallala in South Australia and round 6 of the championship. Well, there's a lot of interest here too with the debut of the new Nissan GTR. Mark Scaife has qualified Godzilla on the 2nd row, while the front line is split between Brocky and the unlucky Tony Longhurst.
Racing, Brock misses the start. The Nissan gets up behind the pair of them, has to go for another gear. Longhurst tries to carry on the outside, but it'll be Brock to the first turn. Good start there from Dick Johnson and also John Bowe as they sweep down towards the pit turn, where Brock will take over command. Heading down the short pit straightaway to the right-hander. Looks like 98 Joe Somariva has gone off there in the Commodore. Let's not worry about that. As we head down to the right-hander at the end of the pit straight. And there you can see Peter Perfect. What a perfect lead into the first turn after I thought it muffed the start. Brocky leading from Tony Longhurst. Dick Johnson, a great start. Johnson's up to 3rd. Mark Scaife in the new Nissan four-wheel drive twin turbo GTR sits right in behind Dick Johnson. All of them just putting a wheel over the curve. Now the thing to watch today with the Nissan, I think the thing that struck just about everyone here, it might be the best handling car in its debut appearance, but watch it come off a corner and work the next straight.
Yes, well, that's where the traction on all 4 wheels, Michael, gives it something to think about. And there he is executing a nice passing move on one of the Shell cars already.
Well, that's Dick Johnson. Down on the inside, Mark Scaife. The car fairly sizzles down to the next turn, but there's Brocky doing it for Mobile in 05. Slowest corner on the racetrack. Longhurst still runs in 2nd. I would think Mark Scaife would now be to 3rd. Followed by Dick Johnson, who's under siege from his teammate, John Bowe. And right behind them is Colin Bond, hanging in there with them too in the Caltex Sierra, and then Alan Jones, one back behind him.
And also a good start from Andrew Madecki, Glenn Seaton in there, Larry Perkins, then followed by Jim Richards and Neil Crompton today. There's problems already. The first one in the pit area is in fact Alan Jones in the number 20 Benson and Hedges Sierra.
You can't win a sprint race in the pits, Mungle. If
No.
they have to stop, it's the end of the day for him. You can say cheerio. There's no way you can get back out and do anything.
And Tony Longhurst now under a lot of pressure from Mark Scaife in the GTR.
You notice the shortcut that Mark's taking there, and that's the traction he's got. That's fairly loose marbles there. One would describe it as not exactly part of the circuit, but he was able to plant it in there on the inside line and just do what he wanted. A little power oversteer on the exit of that corner, but nothing that he hasn't got under control.
He certainly does appear to have it under control, and what an outstanding debut so far for the new Nissan GTR model. There's the gap back to Mark Scaife, who runs in second. Longhurst is third. John Bowe is fourth. Fifth is Colin Bond in car number 8, and he's moved right up behind John Bowe at this stage of the race, and there's Dickie Johnson keeping them both company.
Well, John seems to be in a spite of trouble here. I don't believe that Colin should be able to just fly by him at that rate. That looks like a bit of a problem for the number 18 car.
Up front in the Mobile Sierra, and right behind him is Mark Scaife in the new four-wheel drive twin-turbo Nissan GTR. Here they work the sweeper coming down this long straight. Stop, start, turn coming up the right-hander.
He's quite close. I think probably it's fair to say that Peter's a little bit slower through the corners here, but only a frazzle. Mark is certainly getting as close as he can without touching him. There's no need to touch him.
No, none whatsoever. Uh-oh. Watch horsepower now as young Scaife guns the Nissan down the inside. We'll have to try and outbrake him. Will he what?
He did, passed and outbraked him. I think that's...
Now it's going to be interesting to see how far the Nissan is able to pull away from Brock now that he's got ahead of him.
We're looking at this fabulous scrap for
there's a go.
and there's a touch there between Andrew Madecki, who's put it upside down after coming into contact with John Bowe.
And then Bowe's gone over the back, and Jim Richards appeared to might have just touched the back of John Bowe's car.
That was bad luck. Andrew Madecki says, how on earth did that happen?
And such a slow speed, Michael. It was one of those freak deals. And
let's have a look at this.
Slight tap here.
That was just a tap that got Bowe around. Yeah, you think the Bowe would have been the one, but he's caught the front wheel, I think, of Bowe's car, or the flaring.
Ricochet, as he came across, ricocheted, must have been just at the right point of leverage and flipped Madecki over.
So a bit of work to be done by Neil Lowe and the boys in the Shell Ultra team. They'll have him underway as quickly as they possibly can. In the meantime, Mark Scaife continues to lead the race from Peter Brock. Colin Bond runs in third. Dick Johnson is fourth. In the meantime, the order remains the same. Sorry, Neil's been passed in every turn now.
Well, he realizes that he's got a slightly slower car in those areas. He's not being pedantic about it. He's taken tit for tat and gone back and had another go there.
There's Larry Perkins. He's been in for a pit stop. Running on the 12 wheels today, he was telling me. There's our race leader. Everyone expected the car to be under a lot of pressure.
Oh, there's a sight we don't see.
Oops, and he's gone off.
No, something's happened there. Absolutely.
Now, whether or not it's just a lock-up and he's going to come through the sand trap, or whether he's given it away.
Can't quite make up his mind whether it's going or not. It looks like it's still got a bit of traction, but something there when the right rear wheel locked up.
Well, that puts Peter Brock back in front. There's Mark Scaife. His race is over. He's going via the infield, heading back to the pits. And here is the man that goes back into the lead, Peter Brock. Freddie Gibson, team manager for Nissan, talking to Mark Scaife on the 2-1. There's Glenn Seaton, young driver with a ton of potential, doing a good job in the Peter Jackson Ford Sierra. As once again, we take this great shot. Now, Dulux Auto Colour race cam sits right on top of the roof of the Sierra. There you can see the crowd off to the left as I go across the start-finishing line here at Malala. Then it's a quick kink to the right, then a kink back to the left. Seaton just putting the nose down there on the inside. He wasn't going anywhere there.
No, he overcalculated there and it cost him.
Bond is really on the move here as they come down the back straight. If he can work his way to the outside, which is the inside here on Peter Brock. Can't do it this time.
These corners are particularly hard. They have to throw the vehicle from one side to the other, tight little left, right, left, and a lot of strain on the tires. But Brocky's held the lead there. I don't see any chance for Cullen to snip by on the old pit straight. And here's where he's got to be a little bit careful. Bit wide again. Cullen trying to come through on the inside. Not going to do him a lot of good there. He really needs to be.
No, it's settled down again. So Brock. Oh, Bond up this time. There's just enough of a gap. What a move from Colin Bond, who goes through and takes the lead. Can it be two in a row? And it's far from over yet. There's Jimmy Richards running with our Nissan race cam. Jim is in fourth at the moment.
Right, and definitely got Dick in his sights. But speaking of sights, Dick's got Brocky in his sights. In fact, it's just passed him. Not on camera at the moment, but has just passed Brocky.
But Colin Bond, talk about the veterans coming back with a vengeance in the Caltech Sierra.
You know, age has got nothing to do with ability, Michael. I wish you'd start getting used to this idea.
We're in the same club, pal.
Yeah, we're all in the same club. And remember, Colin and I drove together.
That's true.
I know the aspersions you're casting. He's done a great job here and a superb job for Caltex, who have supported him for many years when life was not so easy. But he's persevered with his own engines. They build them themselves in Sydney. They've worked on an Australian management system and certainly proving the day here today.
Last corner coming up now as Colin Bond does it 2 from 2 in the Caltech Sierra. He is going to pick up the win here today at Malala. Dick Johnson in car number 17 getting across the line. What a fabulous second for Johnson. And it looks like third man home is going to be Jimmy Richards. So Richards gets across in third, and that will give fourth to the ailing Peter Brock, who just limps across the line now. Check him out for you on the Shell race score. Bond is your race winner from Malala. Second spot goes to Dick Johnson, third to Jimmy Richards, fourth to Peter Brock. A great drive, and rounding out the 5 is Tony Longhurst in car number 25. Another fantastic drive from Colin Bond. But what about the potential of the Nissan GTR? A most impressive debut indeed. On out to Wanneroo in the penultimate round of the championship. No surprises in qualifying though. Tony Longhurst on pole over Brock. Jones and Richards will share the second row, while Seaton and Bowe round out the top 6. Green light on. Brock wins the charge, and Jim Richards out like helter-skelter down the outside. A bad start from Longhurst. Jones got the best of that. They'll all pick into the right-hander. Very, very tight turn, but it'll be Brock in front with Jim Richards right behind him. Alan Moffat, things couldn't be looking much better for Jim Richards at this stage.
No, a great start, Michael, and he really wanted that because Alan Jones and Tony Longhurst, no mean fellows to be dicing with on the opening laps. He's in a beautiful spot. If Brocky's up marginally faster with his quicker time in practice, he can just lunge in there behind him, pick up a bit of the slipstream, although that doesn't look like he's going to be doing much of that on the opening laps. Here's a go by Longhurst.
Well, that's very close stuff as they swing through there. Longhurst picking up the threads of that as they exit Cold Corner and work their way up the hill. There's Brocky out in front, Longhurst in second. Next is Jim Richards, followed by Alan Jones. A good start also from young Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson Sierra, and then Dick Johnson and John Bowe pretty close. And also a good start there from Win Percy in the Holden.
As we look at the 1 minute penalty for car 20, Alan Jones, for allegedly jumping the start, but I'd have to agree with Alan, the length of time the cars sat there was crazy.
Well, that won't make Alan Jones feel very good at the moment. In fact, if he gets out and passes his team leader here on this lap or the next, you'll know that he's pretty well set tail with the 60 seconds.
It's been the great thing about the Shell Ultra Touring Car Championship this year, Alan, that so many of the cars so closely matched, and traditionally we look at the top 10 in each of the races and there's just nothing between them. We take a look at the replay here of the start, looking from the Peter Jackson Sierra of Glenn Seaton, and as Alan Moffat quite rightly pointed out, a good, clean, healthy start, although Alan Jones, they say, jumped the start.
What a pity.
That's how we saw the start of round number 7.
And Brock leading from Longhurst. Then you see Alan Jones still in third, question mark. Then we've got Jim Richards fourth, Glenn Seaton, Dick Johnson, John Bowe, Colin Bond the next man, and Wynne Percy wins in 9th position with Larry Perkins in 10th.
Well, Dick Johnson likes to lead races, and he's certainly done enough of that in his career and certainly around the Shell Series. But today he had the choice of 2 Dunlop tires that he could go for, a harder or a medium compound, and to secure his chances in the championship, he took the harder tires, and just not able to match it with the performance of the Benson and Hedges cars at the moment. But that's not to detract from his ultimate ability to do well in this race.
As he heads down to the right-hander at Kolb. How's it going, Dick?
Oh, not too bad, mate. It's having a bit of problem early in the race trying to get tyres warm, but now we got a bit warm. Hopefully the others will start to come back to us.
It looks that way from up here.
Yeah, well, I've also got a twisted rear half shaft which is vibrating like, well, I won't tell you what.
No.
Like something.
But it's, you know, it's having a good old shake, and I've had it before, but I don't think there'll be a problem.
Dick, with
just got to try and get in front of Gonzilla there.
Dick, with 20 minutes down in this race, are you comfortable about your tyre choice?
Well, at the moment, but we'll just see how the other guys fare too.
Okay, Sam, we'll let you get back on the job.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bill.
There's our race leader. Let's look at the gap back to Tony Longhurst. It is a very long one, as Neil said, just over 7 seconds.
Now 8.5 seconds.
8.5. Alan Jones, third on the racetrack, but has incurred a 1-minute penalty for jumping the start. Then, of course, very close, as you'll see now exiting that corner. Just look at Jimmy Richards and Glenn Seaton. They are getting into pretty close combat as they come up to the left-hander. This is probably the next passing move of the race. Seaton has been able to haul in the Nissan. It's still a little skatey.
4th and 5th. Behind them we have Johnson, Bowe, Bond, Percy and Perkins.
Yes, well, at this rate of acceleration, there'll be no stopping Peter Brock. I can't see how that kind of a gap can be reduced. He can nurse whatever problems might pop up on him, and certainly his choice of Bridgestones has given him a good run here today.
Here's our Dulux Auto Colour race cam, and zap down on the inside goes Glenn Seaton. So Jimmy Richards goes back 1 in the pack. Glenn Seaton doing a good job. He's up 1 and starting to close now on Alan Jones. But Johnson, car number 17, being able to get through on the inside of Jim Richards in the Nissan GTR. And a good passing move. We'll replay that for you in a moment or two to show how Johnson was able to effect a pass. In fact, here it was just the previous lap, coming down on the inside of the Nissan. Takes him quite cleanly on the inside. Jim has a little debate, wants to fight back as they go down to the next right-hander. But Dick had too much squirt and is able to pull across.
Well, there's nothing the Shell team would love more than to get another car in front of Jimmy Richards.
Oh, what a huge lose from one of the Shell cars. He's
Dick
Johnson. And something broke at the front of the car. I just happened to be looking out the front window here, and it was enormous amount of spark and garbage from the front right-hand corner. Look, he's lost a front right. The car, some major failure at the front of the car, double yellow flags out there, and Johnson in real trouble.
Gee, that is bad luck for
that
the
is terrible luck.
Dick's about to climb out with the...
Got to get his 7 commentary aerial off.
Yes. So he's had a suspension failure by the look of it, and it's gone straight across the road and buried itself in the sand pit.
That started a long way back up that straight. So replay here, this is the aftermath, right at the bottom corner. But I can tell you that for the best part, I reckon, of 300 metres, the car was doing 140, 150 mile an hour with a great sheet of sparks coming off it. Johnson went through 1 spin, was lucky not to be collected by other traffic, and has deposited a major amount of dirt and garbage on the entry to the pit straight. Unbelievable.
Well, it's Jimmy Richards making a move now on John Bowe down the inside. Moment of truth. John will go in deep. Jim's trying to go in. Almost a little touch there. That was very, very close.
You won't see Jim Richards touching anybody, mate. He would never do that.
I was suggesting that maybe John came across the front very late.
Well, he may have come a little bit late there, but that's fair enough too. Not going to make any mistakes.
14.5 seconds for Peter Brock to Tony Longhurst at the moment. So
that's annihilation. That's just not
They'll swab him. He's running on bedrock specials.
Well, they'll check him for sure. You can be sure of one thing. It'll get a very good look at post-race scrutineering. That's done with all cars that finish in the first three.
There's the Johnson car off in the sandpit as Johnny Bow pulls out to put a lap on Chris Lambden in the Bow Repairs Skyline. And here comes Gentleman Jim storming down the inside in the Nissan GTR. And this time he takes John Bow on the inside.
Yes.
That's another championship point.
Longhurst is in the pits, and he'll also know that Jones has a 1-minute penalty. So
we might go down to the pits. I think Dave Christensen's down there. We'll see whether or not we can establish the problem with car 25, Tony Longhurst. Dave?
Mike, they've changed all the tyres. They're having trouble getting the temperature right, the operating temperature right by the looks of things, and they're now going underneath the car, so things are not looking good for Tony Longhurst at the moment. Incidentally, Dick Johnson diplomatically doesn't feel like talking just at this very moment. Longhurst has now cut the engine, so I'd say that's the race.
Well, Brocky in front, and his spark plugs are certainly firing on all four here for him today. He's got no engine problems. He's got no tire problems. In fact, I would think he would be whistling Dixie right at the moment, saying, how long has it been?
Look at the gap there, Alan. We've seen our leader go through. Now we're waiting, of course, for
daylight.
The 35, Glenn Seaton.
You'll have to tread water for a while.
Who runs second, of course, in the Peter Jackson Sierra. There's Glenn coming through now. Of course, Colin Bond is third in the Caltech Sierra, and look, here he comes.
Yes. Right in there again for another finish. A tremendous performance over the last 3 races for Colin.
Kevin Waldock going through, a consistent runner.
And he's got a pretty safe margin at the moment over Jim as Colin exits the pit straight. Jim is just coming into it in the GTR.
Well, they've taken the last lap, and it looks like the first win coming up for Peter Brock for season 1990. But it's going to be a great and a very resounding win for Peter Brock in car number 05 for the mobile team. They've done so well here today. Dictated the pace in unofficial practice on Friday. Was beaten only by Tony Longhurst for pole, but keep in mind he was the fastest man in the warm-up this morning, and that's when everyone is geared up to go racing, not to be the fastest Sierra on a Saturday.
Exactly. They've worked hard. This is what a lot of us feel, Mike. We don't want to see Brocky in a Bridgestone mobile combination.
Okay, they're coming down to the final corner now. Peter Brock has arrived back in victory lane. He comes out of the last corner. The crowd here at Wanneroo Park going absolutely berserk, and Brocky coasts across the line. He's going to do it with style, with grace, and plenty up his sleeve here today. Second spot will go to Glenn Seaton, and what a great finish for young Glenn in the Peter Jackson Racing Sierra. Let's check them out then, Al, on the Shell race score. Peter Brock is your round winner from Wanneroo. Glenn Seaton places second. Third place to the Mr. Reliable, Colin Bond. Fourth goes to Jimmy Richards in the Nissan. And rounding out the 5, welcome back to Holden and to Win Percy. Success at last for Peter Brock in the Mobile Sierra. A good second to Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson entry, and Colin Bond keeping his hopes alive with a very sound third. You know, I rather doubt anyone could have scripted a better finish to a series than this year's grand final showdown of the Shell Nationals at Sydney's Oran Park. And to make matters even more interesting, Jim Richards has captured pole in the Nissan over Brock, Johnson, Longhurst, Bow and Seaton. Little wonder then why the fans are hanging off the rafters. Beautiful weather conditions here today. A capacity grid, a capacity crowd has turned out. The final round of the 1990 series, and the beautiful weather has even brought out the politicians, including Dr. Hewson. Ready for the start. Richards head-to-head against Brock. Richards wins the start. Absolutely flies off the line. Everyone gets off the line comfortably, heads down towards the first turn, and look at Richards spread eagling the field already as they head down. And a brilliant start, I think, from Tony Longhurst.
He got a great, Richards did exactly that in Perth. Mike, he's obviously got all those 4 wheels pulling at the same time. There's no difficulties with their differentials in that start. Field closing up a bit in the infield.
And now we have a couple of spoilers, Neil Crompton. Tony Longhurst, a magnificent start there, puts him up into second spot. John Bow is away quicker than Dick Johnson. Colin Bond, a lot of work to do, out of position number 11.
Yes, it was a terrific start from Tony. Aggressive the first couple of corners and cleared himself up from position 4 on the grid after recording a 1:12.02 and chasing his old teammate, Jim Richards.
Well, ideally, Johnson wanted Brock up there, giving Richards plenty of curry in these opening laps, but Brocky must have slipped off the line with his clutch. He's a long way back, 7th spot there. You can see him in the picture now. And he'll work his way through, no doubt.
Colin Bond starting out of 11th up to 9th as they complete the first lap on Grand Final Day at Oran Park. It looks like the GIO car of Gibbs has gone off the racetrack, and he's trying to rejoin on the loop area heading down to Sutton's Corner.
No one wants to lose the drift. I was going to say no one wants to lose the drift. They don't want to lose the draft. You've got me, Michael. And Brocky's taken that draft there. He's in a bad position here. He needs to turn right in a second or two, and Dick will be well placed to stay in front. But no doubt that bad start on Peter Brock's part is costing him dearly now. He'd like to have nothing but fresh air in front of him, but he's got a big Shell Sierra in front of him at the moment. Another little bite here, and it looks like he's got him.
Through on the inside of Dick Johnson, over the top of the bridge, so Peter Brock picks up one. But keeping in mind, without going into the full scenario of where everyone's going and should finish, for Jim Richards, the title will be Richards if he wins or finishes second to anyone but Johnson. So at the moment, there's no problem about that, gentlemen. Jim is just spread-eagling the field in the Nissan GTR, and there he goes.
We're looking now from the Dulux cam on top of Glenn Seaton's car. Great view, chasing Dick Johnson down the straight. And Johnson's chosen the harder of the 2 Dunlop tires that are available to him, and hoping that everything will be fine for him in the last quarter of the game.
Yeah.
But he is a long way off the front runners at the moment. He's got Brock, both the Benson and Hedges cars, and of course Jim Richards in the sunset already.
Jim's 12 seconds clear of Tony Longhurst at this relatively early stage. We're only 40 minutes into the race, and behind this duo we've got Colin Bond about 2 seconds shy of the mark, and then a small gap to George Fury, who joins the Peter Jackson team for the first time this weekend in another of the Sierras.
Can't get any closer than that. I think Dick's driving fairly defensively at the moment.
Some fantastic pickies today from Mark Woodley, Charlie Busby and our race cam boys. The Dunlop race cam out of the rear of Dick Johnson's Shell Sierra. Rock down into some traffic. Right behind him comes Bow.
John Bow's done a superb job in the Shell team all year. Backed up Dick beautifully on every occasion. Just the once when he was bumped out in Malala. A great team driver and an asset to the Shell team.
The gap from first to second, Richards to Longhurst, is now 18 seconds.
It's like an Ayrton Senna performance.
It's a bit like that.
Here we go.
Here's Brocky and Longhurst snap.
Make that 18 seconds, Jim Richards to Peter Brock.
So Brock has been able, after that appalling start, to be able to pick the pace up, come back through the pack. He was back to what, about 6th or 7th?
7th, I think.
And now back to second. Let's have a look at a replay here of Glenn Seaton looking for Dick Johnson. This happened just a few seconds ago as we're chatting on Brock. Down on the inside, moment of truth.
Nice move, very nice.
Was. Dick left a little opening there, and Glenn took advantage of it in the Peter Jackson Sierra, so he also has improved his spot. The grand final of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. There is your race leader, Jimmy Richards, in the Nissan GTR. Lap number 20.
Beautiful looking car.
Some great shots again from our Dunlop race cameras. Bondi straight down the outside, and that was just too quick. What's happened to Johnson? Johnson's headed for the pits. Here he comes down pit lane.
Yes, he's got a difficulty.
So, tyre change for Dick Johnson. The championship had already slipped away. There was absolutely no chance whatsoever after slipping back through the pack that he had any hold back on it again.
Was going to be a record-breaking championship as well, Michael.
Yep.
His 6th. The greatest number to date has been 5.
Oops.
Pete Gagan. There's Tony Longhurst has whacked that very tight right-hander at the base of the bridge.
He had real pressure on him in the last lap from John Bow as we take Dunlop race cam. Dick Johnson rejoining. On the last lap through, Bow was right on his tail, so they were having a great scrap for what was 3rd place. So Longhurst will drop back in the order now. We'll give you the top 10 again as soon as possible. Longhurst to the pits. He's got the rear bumper dragging on that car.
they'll obviously take an opportunity to throw some new tyres on as well.
Glenn Seaton to the pits, car 35. There he goes in the foreground. So this is really drastically altering the shape of the top 10 at the moment.
Mechanic pulling like crazy on the back of the car. He's needs some kind of gigantic scissors to snip that bumper bar. It's only plastic, it's not a steel bumper bar, so they are able to get their hands around it.
Oh,
Alan Jones with the bonnet up.
I said last night I was getting set for a Queensland trifecta, the Broncos, the Brizzy Bullets and Dick Johnson. You've let me down, pal.
Oh, mate, the race not over yet.
Oh, good on you. You think I was safer having my money on you than the Brisbane Bears?
Oh, you wouldn't believe, mate, the things that can go wrong when you don't want them to.
Tell us about it, Dick.
Well, I think my drink bottle had an enema inside the car here, and it created fumes because I used some gunk in the bottle that nearly blinded me. Then Brock got past me, would you believe? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that thing of his, like, I nearly choked to death on Mobile 1. It looks like the last train to Ferny Grove.
Great to see you haven't lost your sense of humour.
What's the use, mate? You die if you lose that.
You're going to battle on and try and pick up a couple of points.
Oh, all we need is a bit of luck, mate.
All right, go get him, Tiger. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you. Lap 32. We're riding with the race leader, Jimmy Richards, with our Nissan race cam. Just as you joined us just a second or so ago, Colin Bond and John Bowe, that great scrap that we've been following. Have a look at this. Down on the inside comes Colin Bond. Defensively driving was John Bowe, and wham.
Whammo.
Now that
little uncalled for, mate.
Oops, and also a catch on the front. Bond is then able to sweep around the outside and continue on. Johnny Bowe also picks up another gear, but he's carrying the legacy of that little coming together. Bond is 5th in the race. Bowe is still 6th in the race.
And the mover and the shaker in the pack is George Fury up to 3rd.
That's the fastest part of the circuit, and I think slightly unsporting maneuver.
30 runs in 3rd place out on the racetrack, and that, of course, is a familiar face to motorsport, Georgie Fury.
George been out doing a little rallying earlier in the year, and Glenn Seaton has very astutely grabbed his services, put him on the payroll for the rest of the year, so you can see this car as being a formidable runner at Bathurst.
Certainly so.
George knows his way around there. I believe is still credited with the fastest lap ever in a
little turbo.
In a Nissan product, yes.
They come down the hill again. Jimmy Richards sitting just in behind Mark Scaife. The point I was trying to make earlier about Nissan deciding that they were quite happy to release George Fury, considering they were only planning on doing a minor number of enduro races this year. It's been a bonus for the Glenn Seaton team that he's able to join them, because I think he will bring some solidarity to that team as they go towards Bathurst. Mark Scaife running 8th on the racetrack at the moment.
Well, Peter will be kicking himself today. He probably would have, I honestly felt, had the potential to win the race, but you can't give away anything at this level of competition. You have to grab the start by the throat, you have to get into the first corner, and you've got to keep that daylight in front of you and nice fresh air. Whatever was his problem off the line, it's cost him dearly, and it's honestly given Jim Richards a free run here today.
George Fury still lapping very well here. I think the thing that everybody forgets with the Nissan, though, Alan, before we get all too pessimistic, is doing a great job today. Is that it's another 50 or 60 kilograms heavier than even something like the Commodore, and it's still quite hard on its brakes and quite hard on its tyres. It hasn't been pushed along today, so to some extent it's got the most ideal conditions that it could run under. At Wanneroo it was under pressure as the checkered flag comes out, and a win to Jim Richards as we approach the 50-minute mark, and Richards the champion for 1990 and giving Nissan their very first Australian Touring Car Championship. Tremendous performance from Jim, the team, Fred Gibson and the company.
Let's check them out for you. How they've finished. The win going to Jim Richards, 2nd place going to Peter Brock, 3rd to George Fury, as we check them out on our race score, 4th to Colin Bond, and 5th to John Bowe. Well, no doubt about the winner of the grand final, or the championship for that matter. Jimmy Richards, the Shell Ultra National Touring Car Champion for 1990. Here's the final point standings for you. Richards the winner on 102, second to Peter Brock on 85, third Dick Johnson on 83, and a fine fourth to Colin Bond on 81. I trust you've enjoyed this compile of championship highlights from our 7 Sport telecast during the year, made possible by Chevron Publishing in association with the Confederation of Australian Motorsports. I'm Mike Raymond. Bye till next time.